everyone. Welcome to the PrepZone Podcast. I'm your host, Estevao Divino. And if you're watching on YouTube, no, your screen's not stuck. We are doing an audio only podcast today. We're going to talk about the spring season so far, do a little recap of what's been going on, talk about each team. And at the end, we will answer some of our audience's questions that have come in via either Instagram, email, or through the website. So really excited about this episode here, doing something different. Hope you guys enjoy it. And, welcome your feedback after this one. If you have any more questions or anything you'd like to add or talk about, please feel free to reach out to us. So we're going to start, the spring season's been great so far for the Wreckers. I think there's been some surprises, positive and not so positive, but we're going to go down in alphabetical order here. And first talk about the baseball team. So they currently are 5-3. 5 wins, 3 losses overall, and 3-1 in the FCAC. And if you're not very familiar with this, basically the FCAC has its own little season that goes on within the season. So the team can win the conference championship and win the state championships. There's 2 titles they can win a year, but we always count the records differently. But as we talk about the baseball team again, 5-3, 3-1 in FCAC play. They're coming off a very good season. Last year they were in the state final. They were 90 feet away from winning that in extra innings, but they ended up dropping that game. This season has been, challenging for them. They played Ward, which was a rematch last year's championship in the first game, and then they're going great, but obviously the first game is the first game, and then right into the third game of the season, the number 1 starter Kai Nee got hurt in that game against Amity. And, but the team is really deep. There's a lot of pitching on that team. We had Manager McFarland on the show, and he talked about how excited he was about the pitching. So I think they will be fine. Again, right now, they have plenty of pitching, aside from Kai, which he should return before really, the playoff run starts here in the FCAC in the States. But they should be a really good team this year against 5-3. They're going to be fine. One of the really positive things is 3-1 in the FCAC. That's really encouraging as they continue to lead the conference there. So it should be a really good season for them. We're excited about it. There have been a lot of rainouts, so we're hoping that from this point on, they can get their games on as scheduled. So that's it for the baseball team, and that's how they are so far. The next team we're going to talk about is the girls golf team. They currently are 1-1 overall and 1-0 in FCAC play. Same deal here. And this team they haven't had a lot of golf meets yet, and that's because we are just coming off of vacation week as we record this, and they didn't schedule anything. Most sports did, golf did not. But again, it's varsity and JV this year. Very young golfers competing. They really do. First of all, what impressed me when I looked into that team is just how many golfers they have on the team. Both varsity and JV, it's a big squad. So it really speaks volume to the program, right? And its growth and how it's run and how it's going to be for the future. Again, they have some underclassmen that kind of leading the team there, and obviously some seniors in the end as well. So the team should be really good this year. Last year they lost, I believe, in the first round of the FCX. But this year, they should be able to make that again and hopefully make it a little bit deeper of a run. The meets are usually run at Longshore if there's a home meet, and if it's away, it's obviously where the other team has that meeting schedule. But again, teams 1-1, 1-0, so we'll keep up the good work with that, and hopefully there will be a lot of them starting this week and how their meets go. And now we're going to talk about the lacrosse program. We'll start with the boys, alphabetical order here. So as we record this, the boys are 4-3 and 0-2 in the FCAC. And they're coming off back-to-back state championships. They're ranked number 1 in the preseason. So if we were going to talk about some surprises, and this is it. When we interviewed Coach K after the last game when they lost to Wilton at home, and he was definitely surprised at the 3-3 start. But then they won a game yesterday. We're recording this on Sunday. They won on Saturday. They went to New Hampshire and won a game there. And obviously, I don't think anybody thought they'd be 3-3 after 6 games. They are, like I said, ranked number 1 state in the preseason. but these things happen. It's like Coach said, it's an opportunity to kind of build from there. The 0-2 in the FCX probably what concerns the team, and I'm just speaking for me. They haven't really said anything like that to me, but they'll be fine. I think they are going to on the back end of the schedule here pick up some games, and I just don't see how they're not in those playoffs and how they don't make a run deep into both. And sometimes, and I think I wrote about this. Sports gives us the best script sometimes, and maybe this is just part of it, right? Again, a slow start, but hopefully they pick it up. And I know that from talking to Coach K here in the podcast, and he's expressed that winning the FCX is something that he'd really like to do this year. They've won 2 state championships, have not won any FCX. So maybe this is the year they break that through. But they've been dealing with some injuries, that's for sure. The team's been banged up a little bit. But, it's always about next man up. Who's going to step up and do that? And they've been really good at that. So they have a week here now where they're going to play 2 games. And hopefully by the time, next Sunday comes around, they are at 6-3. And again, just back to their dominant selves. And like I said, the athletes on that squad is amazing. A lot of Division One players there. They are a really good squad. And I'm sure they'll be fine. They'll be fine. So, again, this time 4-3, 0-2 in the FCX, but they should be just fine. The lacrosse team, and they should be one of the teams of the spring for Staples for sure. Then, talking about the girls lacrosse, they are 4-2 right now and 0-2 in the FCX, kind of the same FCX record as the boys. And that program's kind of a different scenario than the boys. They're coming off kind of rebuilding seasons right now. So last year they were 6-9. They did win that state play-in a game, and they lost in the first round last year. But this year, it's a more experienced team, but still there's a lot of freshmen that are making big contributions to that squad. So, and for them, we've been to, I believe, 2-3 games for them so far. It's been kind of a roller coaster because they either win big or it goes the other way. And as we're recording this, they just won a game yesterday, 20-5. Coming off a game where they lost 13-5. So it's just like it seems to always go one way or the other with them. But it's a strong squad. They play really hard. Up top, they have some real true scorers that I think are going to have a really good season coming up. But again, they're 6 games in the season. It's been a lot of fun to watch that team, and I think they're going to do really well this season. We had the captain on the podcast, and the team looks poised. I think they will do well. So that's it for the girls, the lacrosse program there. And now let's talk about rugby. And before I move on, I just want to say, like, if you haven't really gotten into lacrosse, I really recommend you do because it's really fun. Same thing about rugby. I'm going to talk about it a little bit. These sports, there are maybe not mainstream sports that we don't kind of, see them on day to day on TV. They are extremely fun to watch, not only on TV but live. And you get to know the players, the coaches, and it's just so great to be there. So if you haven't been in those games yet, I'm telling you, get out there. You're going to enjoy them. Then let's talk about the rugby team here. We have both boys and girls. So let's start with the boys first. So the boys definitely a rebuilding year for them this year. I'm sorry, this should be a good year coming off a tough season for them last year. So right now they won 3 games and lost 1. Their only loss was to Greenwich, which is a nationally ranked team. But they did beat a nationally ranked team the first game, Pelham High, at home. They won that, and they've won big. I mean, they beat Trumbull, Rendley, Heatley. They also beat Fairfield Rugby Club pretty well. So the team's good. I think this year the team's very, very good. It's Coach Jack Corcoran's first year. Coach Corcoran is also the coach of Sacred Heart. So he was the assistant a few years at Staples when they won the state championships before. Had a tough one last year, but this year the team's really, really good. And they don't play a lot of games in rugby. They're going to have just 4 more regular season games, with the 4 they already play. So it's 8. So think about it's even less than football. And they will play those 8 games, and then they go right into the first round of the playoffs. A little different rugby where you don't have the FCAC. It's kind of a league on its own that plays. But we're talking about the D1 team, the top team, we consider the varsity. So again, they're 3-1, playing well. Like I said, their only defeat was against Greenwich, and that was a weird game where they got down early, and then it seemed like nothing really worked from that. But I think they're going to probably see Greenwich again sometimes in the playoffs, because you got 2 rounds of playoffs in the state championship on June 8th. So our hopes is that they're playing on June 8th on that game, and it'd be nice to get some payback against Greenwich. That's for sure. But again, really good season from them so far, playing solid rugby, and that's one of the new sports I've gotten into, and I'm really enjoying it. So if you haven't yet, get out there and support the boys and the girls. You're gonna really enjoy it. And then the girls rugby team, this is another one too. It's like they don't, it's outside the FCAC. They play a really short schedule, so they're gonna play 2, 4, 6 games. Well, 6 meets, and they kind of play 2 games in some of these. For example, right now they've played 2 meets. They've been at 2 meets, and they are 2 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie. So but it's different teams, right? So like they tie Fairfield, and they beat North Haven, and then they beat North Haven, and then they tie and they lost North Haven the second game. So they've been going back and forth there on that, but again, it's a short season for them. But the girls, again, with a winning record so far, playing very good rugby, and it's kind of a new program. They had some um, still searching for their coaches when their head coach when the season started. So it's a program that's shifting right now. But kudos to the ladies who really have hung in there and have really made the season work for them, even with all this changes and new things going on. So they're looking really good. Their next game is April 25th. That's their last home game. Actually, they're gonna host Darien and Simsbury. So it should be a good one for them. So if you get a chance, just get out there and support them. Again, 5 p.m. Darien and Simsbury. So 2 for the price of 1 on that April 25th game, and that's at Staples High. So it should be a really good season for them. Hopefully, we're talking about them again, like the playoffs, top 3 round robin. That's going to happen on May 23rd. So good luck to the girls there on their season for the rugby. Then the softball team, it's the next one on tap. We have been to a softball game when they played Ridgefield, and unfortunately that one for them didn't really go that great. But it's just because Ridgefield just threw out a pitcher out there who was, really a good one, dominant performance. Right now they're 2-5, 1-3 in the FCAC. They're coming out of 9-11 last year, where they lost in the first round of the playoffs. Um, but I mean, they are a young team. Talked to Coach Wally after that game, and his main thing he talked about was giving freshmen innings, getting them to really understand what it takes to win on the varsity level. And I think maybe they are 1 or 2 years away from really contending here in the FCAC and in the state. But still, a 2-5 record, and 1-3, it's not that bad for a team that's really, get kind of learning how to play together. Like Coach said, a lot of freshmen, but they should be really good for the next few years. So, not discounting this year, but again, their strength's going to be going forward. But this year it should be really important to kind of build their foundation. And then the tennis team, we'll start with the boys first. Tennis teams, I mean, there are dominant forces really in both boys and girls. Boys right now, as we recorded, they're 5-1. Their only loss has been to New Canaan. Last year they lost the state final to Greenwich. So they made all the way to the state championship. Again, strong team this year again. Last year in the FCAC, they lost in the FCAC semis and got all the way to the CIAC finals. So again, very strong team this year. A lot of returning players. They are very solid. 1 through 4 on singles, and their doubles also are really really good in strong teams. So I definitely think they're gonna have double-digit wins here, and they're going to go deep into the states and the FCX. And the FCX is kind of like it's, and I've said this before. It's like almost every sport that we go through it. The conference is just so strong. And for those of you who don't know, the FCX, the Fairfield County Interscholastic Athletic Conference. So Staples is part of this conference, and then the CIAC is the Connecticut Interstate Athletic Conference. So you play an FCX season and a CIAC season, and they kind of the round records counts for both, games counts for both, but then there's also conference games, kind of just like as you would if you follow college football and college sports. But so it's again talking about the boys tennis, they should have a really good season this year. Their loss in New Canaan. New Canaan is a very strong team, boys and girls, and we'll talk about the girls a little bit, and it'll be the same story. But the boys are doing well. Again, they've had a lot of rainouts with all the rain the spring season has brought us this year, but they should be just fine. And we're looking forward to a really good season from them. And same thing with the girls. They're also 5-1, and their only loss also to New Canaan. And last year they lost in the first round to Darien in the state playoffs. And I think this year they will probably be they're going to be a little better. Definitely, I think deeper into these playoffs. They are very young. The top four players we're at the New Canaan meet, and the singles were freshmen. Really doing that. And some of their upperclassmen are playing the doubles. So there is a lot of, and that's not to say that it's the same lineup every meet, but that's the meet that we were at. That's how they Coach Wilder play that. And but again, as we talked to Coach, she said it really has to do this year about, it is a strong team, and you never want to say that you're building for the future because in high school it's you're restarting every year. But this year they are young, definitely young in the singles. But you know, as I follow the sports more and more, I don't think age really means a lot. I think it's more or class. I think it's more about the talent, and they have excellent talent, especially at the top there. So they should do really well this year. I expect them to really have a good season, and fight for both playoffs. But again, we're going to see this team climb up over the next 2 or 3 years to really be a force in the state. If they don't do it this year, because I don't get it past them, they should be really really good too as well. And then the next sport we're talking about is track. So we have boys and girls. Talk about the boys first. They're 2-0 in the FCAC meets. They've won both meets comfortably. And track is interesting because you have cross country in the fall, you have indoor track in the winter, and I have outdoor track. So it's kind of a year-round sport. And they won the division in the indoor season, and they competed well in the states. I think they were ninth out of 15th, the boys in the states. And individually they're going to be fine. You have some really good runners that are going to perform every meet and going to win their teams. And they do also have some good race relay teams. They're going to do well, but really it's going to them. It's going to be about how they do in the states. Can they compete at the state level? And it's not. I mean, compete. They're going to compete. It's about, are they going to win enough to be at the top, right? Because it's tough. Like I said, there's a lot of talent on that team individually, and you're going to see Staples at the top of a lot of those races. But the thing will be, will they as a team get enough points? And if you don't follow track, it's just not about getting that first win. Obviously, you get more points if you're in first place, but it's about consistently being in the points, right? Finishing top six at most races and kind of adding those points up. So, I mean, each race is important, each event is important. So, I want to. I think they'll be all right. Like I said, I fully expect them to win the FCAC and then compete high for the states. Same thing with the girls, 2-0 in the FCAC. They won both meets easily, and it's the same thing with them. Will they should be able to win the FCAC, but will they, how well will they compete in the states? They have their strengths this year. I think is pole vaulting, and also the relay teams are very very good. Competed well, in outsides, in opens and meets. So I think it's the 4x100, 4x200. I'm sorry if I'm misquoting that, but one of those teams is very very good, and they've consistently been winning. And I think they're going to do really well on the spring as well. And we'll see how they do in the states. It should be a lot of fun to watch. And this is another one that if you haven't been to a meet yet, please do so. We had Coach Laddie on the podcast, and I've been to indoor meets were crazy at the field house, but I can't imagine we're gonna get out there to the outdoors, and I don't know if it's gonna be much different because there's just so much going on at all the times. There's always a race, always someone screaming, always someone yelling. It's very very fun to be at. So especially as the weather warms up and you get a nice Saturday, get out there and see some races because you're seeing some really good competition around here, and it's fun to watch. So definitely highly recommend you do that. And then the last team we'll talk about here is the boys volleyball team, which in my point of view has been the most positive surprise we've had in the spring season so far. They are, as we're recording this, 5-3 overall and 1-1 in the FTAC. So they're coming off a season where they won 3 games the entire last season, and they played a lot of freshmen and sophomores on that varsity squad. And this year, those now they're juniors and seniors, and they are facing the competition, and they're winning. Obviously, I think the top teams are still Darien and West Hill this year, so they're going to have to figure out a way to win these games. But as we've seen the growth on that team, maybe this year I fully expect them to be in the FCAC playoffs and the state playoffs. But I think for them, it's more about next year and what can they do to build this year. But it's I said earlier, it doesn't really matter. You talk about this year, next year, seniors. You just never know. You don't get the same chance twice. So they're playing well this year. Let's hope they make a big run this year, and as we go into next year, it only gets better for them. So they are again, and it's another one. If you get to the gym, you see how exciting it is. It's point after point. It's very high level volleyball. We have some really good athletes on our team, and there's also every time we play, it seems like other teams have good athletes as well. But it's a fast paced game. Goes by fast. You're in the gym. You're really close to the action. So again, if you get a chance, get out there, support the boys. 5-3 so far, 1-1 in the FCAC. We should see playoff volleyball this year from the Wreckers. And that was it. We went through all the sports so far, what we've been doing. Like I said, some really positive surprises and some not so great. But I do think that overall Staples the Wreckers will be really fine. And hopefully we'll get maybe one or two state championship games this spring, which would be a lot of fun like we had in the fall. So thank you so much for everyone that's been, out there supporting us and getting in touch with us one way or another, making donations. We really appreciate that. And I wanted to take the last few minutes here on today's podcast and just answer a few questions that have come in. And I'm going to be as honest as I can. And again, keep them coming. So the first question I got is, how did the morning walk start and the sign off idea? So the morning walk started was an idea that my wife had. As if you follow us and you're on our website, PrepZone is a family thing, right? Something we started as a family. We're all in it. My kids, my sons, one's a Staples graduate, one is currently at Staples. So we are wreckers, inside and out. And then my wife said, once we started doing the interviews, post game, and some of the writing and podcasts, and she goes, why don't you let everybody know where they should be today? Get out there, talk to them. And we did it once, and it kind of just really, you guys made it work because you tune in, you interact. When you see us on the field, you're always just talking about it. So we love that. And the sign-off idea really has to do with a lot of the stuff I read about. And one thing that stuck with me was that, and I can't remember who said it, but what it really was, it says, that the guy was saying that after all his degrees and after all his experience, the best advice he could give anyone is just be kind to one another, right? And because everyone's kind of going through something different. So that kind of stuck with me. It's just like if we all spread some more kindness here in this world, I think we'll be a lot better off. The problems all don't go away, but it shines a good light on it. And so that's how I started. So I started saying be kind to everyone, and being positive is something that I've always wanted to be. You can always find something positive in the day. Sometimes you just have to look a little harder, but there's always something positive there, you know. And in getting after it, it's kind of like what we've been doing at Prep Zone. We work, we get out there, we want to cover all the sports, we want to give everyone a light. So we're getting after it every day, and it seemed like a good thing to spread. Like if everyone's out there and getting after it, if you're an athlete, you're getting after your goals. If you're want to go to an Ivy League school and your studies are your thing and writing, you got to get after it. You got to study every day. You got to do it every day. Well, everyone should study every day, but to that point. So it's always about getting after it, and and go records, go records. So And it's funny because the other day, it was a grocery store and somebody stopped me and the guy said, I'm going to be saying be kind to everyone for the rest of my life. And I said, man, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. So we appreciate those positive feedbacks, when we see it, that's for sure. Um, and the next one here, is it difficult to always have a positive outtake on the games and in life? So on the games, really, it isn't because as we cover this, and a lot of our audience is young, but the older audience is gonna understand when they had beat writers, where these reporters would stay with the teams all the time, and it's when you get to know the people, right? And that's to me that's been one of the coolest things with Prep Zone is about it's about getting to know the players, getting to know the coaches, the families around the programs, and so when you talk about, is it hard to have a positive outtake on the game? It really isn't because yes, the result is what the results are. And sometimes they're not what we expect them to be. But, you know, nobody's out there really trying to make a mistake or trying to lose the games. They're trying to win it. The coaches are doing their best, the players are doing their best. So when you know it and when you see the effort that goes in, sometimes in practice, we have been to some practices, we've seen all that stuff, so it's like, I mean, you can always find something positive on any kind of performance. Anytime they step on the field, step on the court, there is always good to look at. And like I said, the result is what the result is, and we have to talk about it because sometimes you're going to lose in life, but it's about getting up and going after it, and it ties it up, about being positive and negative in life. It really is about just you're going to take some losses, you're going to take some setbacks, but you just have to keep going. And I've said this, I think, in a morning walk, and I'll say it again. Again, the question was like, is it positive having how to take in games and in life? And in life, it's like when you get up, you have to decide what kind of day you're going to have. You can't just say, oh, and wait for it to happen to you. You have to say, hey, I'm going to have a good day today. And you have to look at things that way and make the day a good day. Because I'm telling you, it really makes a difference of how you act about that day and how you decide to go about that day. So it's not difficult to have the positive outtake. I think it's something that takes practice, like anything. And I think if you do it enough, right, and then you realize that this is good for me, and this is affecting the people that I live with positively, and the people I work with positively, so then you kind of, you get better at it each day of like that. And like I said, you can't let it happen to you. You have to make the day a good day. And then the last question I'm going to address this is how are you related to the school? So Prep Zone, we're not officially related to school. We're not. Prep Zone works on its own self. We've been so lucky that Principal Thomas and the athletic director VJ Cerula have been so great to us. They've allowed us to cover these games, be around these players, coaches, and VJ has been on the podcast. It's actually on our first day of recording was the girls soccer coach Barry Beatty and VJ Cerullo. So they've been supporting us because I think that we've been shedding light into Staples, and not only just the mainstream sports, but every single sports. That's our idea. And as we grow, our idea is to improve the coverage in all the sports. So officially, we do not. Prep Zone does not have any connection with Staples officially, but we cover the Staples like we do as a team. So, but we're incredibly proud of the school. So even though the Prep Zone doesn't, like I said, I do. My family does. We're Wreckers. We've attended school. I have alumni. Son that currently goes there. So we are connected, and we're not. Kind of hard to explain that one, but we're not by any means anything that the school does. It's a totally outside project that's done by me, by my wife, and my kids. And we have some interns that are working with us as well. Thomas Buckley and Sancho Aurora. So, and then we're gonna have some more people that are gonna join us on when the senior internship starts. So I'm really excited about all of that. I think Prep Zone is going to grow. Uh, don't know where it's going, but I do think the core of our of what we are, which is covering the staples, record sports, will always be there because that's what we love to do. It really is about doing everything to make sure that every athlete at Staples, every team at Staples gets their limelight. There's someone always covering them, writing about them, and making sure that what's being done out there on the field, on the courts, is being pushed out to our community, and it's being used to enhance not only our lives, but the lives of the community as well. So that's where we are there. So I know it was a long episode. I want to thank you guys for sticking it out with me today. A little different here. So hopefully you got some good stuff from all the updates on the team so far, and a little bit about PrepZone. And we'll continue to do that. Next week we'll have new guests on the show and go back to our format. But again, thanks so much for tuning in, and go Wreckers.